So, what I'm going to talk about is climate farming. We're going to begin with talk about some technology that I developed for sort of trade regulation, finance, and then we're going to talk about how you can use that technology in the context of climate change.
Can you talk a little louder, Vinay, please?
I can try. Let's see. Is that any better?
Yes.
Okay, great. Sorry. There we go. Right. So, sorry. So, what I'm going to be talking about is some technology that we developed for handling trade and trade disputes in the context of some international legal norms, and then we're going to go from there to talk about how you can use that technology in the context of climate change to handle the deployment of hundreds of billions of dollars in capital to try and deal with hundreds of millions of refugees. So all of this stuff was built with a very clear goal in mind, and we'll talk about how this stuff like that. So my company is quite old. It's still very much a startup because we spent basically 5 years developing technology. We've only just started doing the commercialization in the last couple of years. Also, the pandemic slowed us down, but we're still one of the oldest and most mature companies in the blockchain space. The vast majority of what we've done is thinking very hard about the relationship between contract law and technology. So if you think of what we're doing, it's kind of like contract automation, trade automation. You take a physical asset, there's a wide range of asset classes, you provide a legal documentation package which is multiple different parties all vouching for different parts of why the asset is useful, you bolt it to international law so it works the same way in 170 jurisdictions, and then you make it possible to do exchanges using it. So this fits into the blockchain trajectory. It is explicitly a blockchain technology. The vast majority of the stuff in the blockchain space is garbage, and we don't make any gold. But in the UK, there's been a very, very complex set of developments. I'm going to skip ahead to a slide for a second. Okay. Come on. Here we go. So in the UK, what we found was the UK judiciary were actually very friendly to the blockchain as a technology for trade. From their perspective, what the blockchain provides is a very, very solid way of handling evidence related to a commercial dispute. And because they can get all of that evidence on chain and both parties can agree to the evidence as well, what you get is essentially litigation-ready record. So the combination of having a friendly judiciary that is very interested in blockchain as a technology for preparing legal evidence, and the international legal norms from the 1958 New York Convention create effectively a global synthetic jurisdiction. So the blockchain stores the data, all the disputes are routed to the UK using the 1958 New York Convention, and the result is a uniform environment in which you can conduct trade, which covers nearly the entire world. Now, this kind of jurisdictional engineering work is typically not something that's done by private companies. Right? This is the sort of heavy lift that you would normally do through something like an IPO, but because of the combination of blockchain stuff and arbitration stuff, you kind of have an environment where most of the international bodies don't really have the expertise to deliver these kind of things, so it falls to private enterprise. So the sort of day-to-day business side of this is relatively simple. Take a physical asset you want to sell, you put it through a process where you bind it onto a digital token. The digital token drags with it a set of legal documentation every time the asset is transferred, and the result is that the transactions for a complex asset like real estate happen instantaneously rather than taking 4 months. And the costs might be 1 or 2% or 0.5% rather than the sort of 6% which is typical for real estate. In terms of the scale of the potential savings, the UK Law Commission estimates that the savings in conventional trade from using electronic trade documents is on the order of a quarter of a trillion dollars a year, 225 million pounds, so roughly $250 million. Real estate savings for these kind of technologies are estimated at about $150 billion. So if you think about ballpark of about $500 billion a year of transactional efficiency, that's kind of what us and the other companies in our space are doing. Now, all of that stuff works. we've done transactions for years. We did gold bars, we did $2 million real estate listing, we sold fine art, including a trumpet for about $100,000, and all of that stuff is one-click transactions. Quick set of legal contracts are executed, you buy, do the thing, well-defined legal semantics in the case of dispute. Ordinary working lawyers who read that system, understand that system, participate in it. Start. So, how then do we start applying this stuff to the challenges presented by climate change? Because the challenges that are presented by climate change are not insubstantial. So, in a previous life, I designed that building down there, the Hex. I also worked quite a bit in aid transparency. Now we're moving slightly from the pitch to the lightning bolt. So, the aid transparency problem is that if you want to take $100 billion of aid and distribute it globally, you kind of count on about a third of it going missing on the way. And often having it go missing is a price of doing business. So, if we were to take the aid, the part of the aid which is spent with physical goods was tied onto a blockchain mechanism for handling both the shipment of the goods but also the payments. You could have goods with a clear, precise specification. You could allocate the budgets on chain. And as the goods pass through the logistical pipeline, everybody that handles them takes off receipt, and all those receipts go onto the chain. Along with transfers of legal liability, this also helps with things like customs. It helps with money laundering. It helps identifying value leaks in the system. Now, that kind of mechanism is currently unknown in international development. The closest thing we've seen is a company called APCO that I used to work for that does monitoring for about $30 billion worth of water and sanitation projects using kind of geospatial systems and mapping. So when we start talking about hundreds of millions of climate refugees, the budgets associated with providing even basic support become very large. 100 billion refugees, $1,000 a piece, you do the math and numbers. So what we need to build out is a very different approach to handling refugees. The first thing is we need to stop thinking of them as being refugees who are permanently economically unproductive. We need to figure out some ways for refugees to get both education and work. And I think that that means challenging the legal status of refugee and replacing it with something which is more sensitive to the needs of fast displacement, permanent displacement of this climate. The second thing that goes along with that is you need to be able to use software to effectively figure out where these people are going and what equipment needs to go with them. So for that, what you need is detailed technical specifications for all of the potential assets that are going into the field. The tents, the hexagons, the water purification, the cooking, the lighting, medical equipment, what kind of renewable area. All of that stuff, because of the scale of the displacement, you have to start automating the systems to be able to figure out what's happening and make these decisions. Trustworthy legal descriptions of physical assets that are machine readable and fed into expert systems of simulators and AIs to help design the packages for people who then have to go. Then when you get to provision, you need digital identities for the refugees, and you need some kind of requisition system where when people become displaced, the material which is necessary to support them is dispatched to the places they're going to turn up. And it's an integrated, tight system, almost like traveling on an airline and changing planes, and everything is joined up end to end so that people don't fall through the cracks and die. Then the question is, well, where are you going to put all these? And we actually used Smarty's technology to create these maps, you can see on the side of the hex here, showing the areas where we've got low population coasts with almost no rainfall. So no rainfall means no agriculture. You can also verify this against population databases. Very large empty coasts currently uninhabitable. How do you make them inhabitable? The answer is solar water desalination. So with solar water desalination, you can suddenly open up enormous chunks of landscape, huge amounts of territory, enough to put perhaps 100 million, 200 million people, without displacing anybody in the process and without competing for agricultural land. then think, how do we do the logistics? How do we move this stuff around? The answer is container ships, because 10 years from now, the general expectation is that we will be able to do ship-to-shore logistics using things like quadricopters. You should be able to pick up a container, fly it to shore, come back, recharge the flow, and make it jump as a relatively normal commercial capability instead of having to build ports. Now, this leaves a hard question unanswered, which is what do we do about food? We are working on this. Right? We don't know what the answer is yet, but we know somebody will figure it out. So all of these kinds of models are a kind of integrative synthetic thing. Right? The shelter technology, the legal technology, the infrastructure design, the dispute resolution mechanisms, the aid tracking, the digital identity, all of these things form a large interconnected system. Some parts of it non-profit, some parts of it for-profit. I've been working toward this by degrees since 2002 when I did Taxier. I helped participate in the first few Star Times demonstrations. You can still see some of the boards that I designed are up over there. And so what we've been doing is weaving this stuff together over time using whatever sets of legal or engineering mechanisms were available. The next step of this is basically building an enormous cash cow to start paying the rest of these. We work in gold, we work in real estate, we work in fine art, we work in international trade. Those systems generate revenue, which will build out the technology which is necessary for scaling these systems down, first into luxury goods, then into consumer goods, and then eventually in about 10 years, maybe 15, absolutely at the bottom of the pyramid level, so that we can start providing high quality goods and services to anybody in the world who needs them with meaningful legal guarantees and access to justice, which is what it's going to take for the climate refugees to get a fair shake rather than being ripped off of the system. I think I will stop there. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. We get next contestant. Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Take this moment to yawn, stretch, and refocus. I know it got a little bit dark in here. I don't want to be all asleep.
We can turn the lights up. It's we turned them down because we thought that the camera might pick it up.
No, I'm good. I'm good as long as you're all good. Please stretch. But don't leave.
Stretch in place.
Yes.
All yours.
Good afternoon, friends. My name is Jose Rodriguez, and I'm the Deputy Director of Alianza Center. I'm here with our founder and Executive Director, Marcos Vilar, and we come to you from sunny Orlando, Florida, Orlando-Kissimmee region, Central Florida. The Alianza Center, we're 15,000 members strong. And as you're going to see in our presentation, we represent 48 not-for-profits and other organizations in our community, and we have the backing, a bipartisan backing, of 40 elected officials and agencies across the full breadth of the I-4 corridor. We're a young organization, but we're mature with enough capacity to convene a collaboration of 48 partners, and we are well known and respected in our community for our civic engagement programs and really being culturally competent in responding to the needs of our community locally. Again, the communities we serve the full Puerto Rican and Latino community across the full breadth of the I-4 corridor, where we have 4 locations. Specifically looking at where we serve 214 disadvantaged census tracts with a combined population of 1.1 million residents. We are in a majority minority region of Florida, together with the Black community. The Latino community are 34%, the Black community at 27%. Together, we represent 61% of the population. The opportunity. Latinos in America, in the United States, we have a combined economy that is the 5th largest GDP in the world. our buying power, our economic power, our presence in the economy is growing. The Tampa Bay and I-4 corridor has a GDP of more than 200 billion. It has evolved to become the 10th largest regional economy in the US. So the business of building resiliency, the business of what we all here are talking about is very, very pertinent to the I-4 region. And getting to know your Latino neighbors and working with us and helping build resilience here not only helps promote your products and your services, but also helps protect the local economy and many of the players in this community. I say that because Alianza just applied for a federal opportunity we were invited to apply for. One that really proves our capacity, our reputation, and our ability to unite. We've submitted a five-year proposal to NOAA that we're waiting a decision on that brought together 48 different collaborators, 40 elected officials, and the collective capacity to make a positive impact in our community. I-4 corridor. This is where Alianza is present through our networking. As you can see, we're all up and down in physical locations, partners, in a variety of locations, building resiliency, building up a united front, and waiting for investment so we can fortify ourselves and make the I-4 corridor a place where we're not only building resilience in the Latino and Black community, but we're building resilience throughout the region. As you can see, there's a lot of regional risk. The red is popping. These are all the areas along the I-4 corridor for loss, social vulnerability, and then all these other climate impacted hazards with a composite risk where everyone but Osceola County is red. Our collaborators. I've already mentioned the nearly 50 collaborators and 40 partners. Let's talk about the sectors they represent. Because Alianza, we are very present in our community. We are present in academia. We have 5 universities that are partnering with us, 2 of them that are Hispanic serving. We work within faith-based organizations, healthcare organizations, community-based organizations. We even are working with student groups at 2 universities. We have signed up the Workforce Development Board and other special purpose units of government. We're working with the 3 regional planning councils that are swooping across the I-4 corridor. And we're also working with local chambers of commerce. When we say we're here to build resilience, we're building resilience in the most expansive definition, in the most expansive way, in the most inclusive way possible. Again, 48 and 50. And what we are looking for is for an investment, a community investment of $1 million for operational support to keep on moving. Alianza is, by all measures, positive net income, we have healthy reserves, we have built up a strong organization. But as we look at uniting the interests and the activities of 48 organizations across such a wild stretch, especially going into what's going to be the busiest Atlantic hurricane season that's been measured, we need help and we need investment. And what we represent is uniting leaders and uniting communities and enabling people to do the work that they're doing. We don't do the work down at the lower levels. We work with our peers, we work with other organizations, we collaborate and we seek efficiencies together, which actually leads to many financial efficiencies and lower operational costs because we're pushing the money down to the grassroots level where people can use the funds more efficiently instead of having it captured in a top-heavy organization where 40 to 50% of the investment is eaten up in overhead costs alone. And by the time it trickles down to the community-based organizations, 2 out of every $3 has already been spent. We're offering an opportunity for 8 to 9 of every dollar invested to go straight into the community with a smaller overhead group that is very, very experienced in civic engagement and grassroots outreach. The activities that we're engaging in are bridging communications through our cultural competence, strengthening existing hubs, doing workforce development. There's a high-tech corridor that's opening up on the Eiffel corridor. It's being built right now. And we did some backwards math. If we want the children of our community to have those high-tech jobs and to contribute to the future economy, we need to start doing youth development programs at 6th and 7th grade. Something that Alianza is doing, because this summer we're having 3 summer camps for children in our community. In the past, we've done summer camps, and we're very experienced in working with children and partnering with others to work with children and adults and seniors, working with the family as a whole. We want to expand our durable and genuine partnerships, identify funding opportunities. And as you can read, I'll go on, expand the capacity, our collective capacity to respond, organize and convene, and also align resilience plans. Often resilience plans are made for others, by others, and they don't include us. And we want to make sure that the majority is present in resilience plan and spending. And this is our contact information. If you want any more information, Marcos and I are here. And we would love to talk to you about strengthening the Eiffel corridor